Hey Landon, can you hear me good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Alright. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Got the text on here. Oh, wait a second. Hey coach.
Hey, what's going on?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear, good to hear.
I
Alright, are
know.
y'all ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Coach, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Alright, perfect. Alright. So, Coach Glenn, I know your background for the most part, but the main question I start the podcast is how did you get to where you are today?
Huh. Well, I think like any guy that's 50 years old, that's a long process. That's for sure. But it's with some of the experiences that I've been able to have, a lot of it comes. I give it a love of the Lord and a love of basketball, and the Lord's gave me the opportunities in a lot of those things. So I would definitely say that from a young age, uh, dribbling a basketball in a little single wide trailer at about 1 and 2 years old. That was in a little single wide trailer right beside Hughes Chapel. My dad was in college there at Asbury, and that makes it kind of cool, where you see everything that came about throughout the course of my life. That it brought me back there, when I went to college and things. But um, my mom, she has so many pictures of me as a little baby carrying that ball around, rolling it, dribbling it, and carrying on, and how basketball brought me back to that place. But that's what I would have to say is that love of the Lord and love of basketball has got me where I am today.
So, growing up, what athletes did you look up to?
I would have to say, as far as an athlete in general, it would have to be Michael Jordan. I just adored everything about him, and I can see my wall beside my bed growing up, and the posters that I would accrue and put up. I had every Michael Jordan poster I think that was possible to get. Buddies of mine would say, "Hey, there's a new Michael Jordan poster came out. It's in Lexington." I would drive to go get that poster just so I could hang it up and add it to my collection. I got a whole entire wall that was Michael Jordan. The only two other people that was on that wall was Joe no or not Joe Nuxall, but Nolan Ryan. I did have one of him, and I had one of Bo Jackson. But everything else was I had every Michael Jordan poster there was. I just with basketball being what it was to me, and watching him and loving to watch him play and the things that I thought he could do. That was probably, as far as an athlete, uh, that would be the one that I looked at as a kid growing up and being like, man, I just want to be like Mike, like so many kids. So
Yeah. So going through it like middle school and high school, at what age like were you whenever you started like to take basketball more serious and want to play at like the next level, that being college?
coming through as a middle school kid, I really loved baseball as well, and played a lot of baseball, and was probably really a better baseball player than I was a basketball player, and just naturally, and it just came a little more natural to me than basketball. But but basketball was something that I really enjoyed working at, and and so I would, probably in middle school is where I began to really work at basketball, and I found myself out in the driveway and working on things that went along with the game, and like I'm sure you guys have, playing games in my driveway, and putting myself in the game and calling the game while I'm playing it, all those kinds of things. I did that a lot, and but too, and I did come to a reality about my 8th grade year, and thinking, if none of this stuff works out, I know I would love to coach this game, and I knew that in order to coach it, that you had to have a teaching background. So in middle school, I knew that if basketball didn't work out for me, or baseball didn't work out for me as far as a professional career would go, like every kid grows up playing ball and things, and you think, oh yeah, I want to play in the pros or whatever. I knew that if I was a teacher, I could coach basketball. And so I've always said that I knew if those things didn't work out, that I would want to teach and possibly be a basketball coach. And that was in middle school when I kind of had aspirations of that as well, and kind of looked towards that as being, hey, this is what I would do if I couldn't fulfill that dream like every kid wanted to do, be a pro athlete. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite moment in playing basketball?
Favorite moment playing? I mean, I loved high school basketball. I mean, Kentucky high school basketball is just it's a special thing, and it's unlike other places. I think we all know that if you've experienced it at all, which I know you have. As I know you have, because last time we played East Jessamine, you were the leading scorer and the leading rebounder, if I'm not mistaken. I told you that the other day on the phone.
Sir.
But what I say is, I enjoyed all those moments in high school basketball and things. But as far as a memorable moment for me, in as a player, I did even have the opportunity to, after I graduated from Asbury and played there, I did have the opportunity to go and play some semi-pro with a semi-pro team here in Lexington called the Kentucky Coyotes, and which I thought was just so neat. I think they paid me $100 a game, and I was tickled to death. I'd have played for free because the games were so good. But it was just that was a great opportunity. But I think one of the most memorable playing times that I've ever had was one night in 1994, I think in February. We went down and played Union. They had just creeped into the top 10, and I was at Asbury, and they creeped into the top 10. One reason why it stands out in my mind, they had just beat Georgetown, of course, which is where I'm from. They just beat Georgetown College the week previous. So Georgetown's coach, Happy Osborne, and his assistant was in attendance. They came down to scout Union. We played Union College, and we went down there and just had a memorable night, which your granddad and great granddad, I guess,
Yep.
who was coaching me, and we wound up upsetting Union at their place that night, and I think it was 109-96. Little Asbury come in there and knocked off a top 10 team, and it was a memorable night for sure for us to go in there and do that. But that was probably, as a player, one of the most memorable times. So.
Landon, we'll go over to you.
All right. So before you were offered this head coaching job, you spent 17 years as the assistant with Scott County High. Is that correct?
It is. That approximate. I shoot. When you've done it that long, I don't know if I can add them all up. I assume that sounds about right. Yes.
What did those years teach you to prepare you for this opportunity?
Oh man, the experiences I was able to have with I coached 7 years of middle school basketball, which and my wife has always said she always enjoyed. I coached middle school basketball at Scott Middle, which was the middle school that I played for and where I taught. And Billy asked me to come on there in about 2001, and it was a time when Scott County was just roaring a little bit, and the opportunities that it brought were just phenomenal as a coach, and some of the things I was able to experience during those 17 years. I guess 9 or 10 appearances at the state tournament, which is uncommon for a guy that you try to go to coach basketball, and everybody, if you're a player or a coach, you just want to go coach at the Sweet 16, Kentucky Sweet 16, and to be able to go 9 or 10 times during that course was just and every one of them was special. To go out on the referee's floor and to try to have a chance at one of those state championships. One of the most special ones, of course, in 2007, we had a phenomenal team that went undefeated in the state of Kentucky, went 30-0 in the state of Kentucky, and wound up being 34-2. We won the state championship, and I think wound up being ranked in the top 10 in the nation, actually, at the end of that year. Beat Ballard in the state championship, and it was just, I can see almost every moment of that state tournament run, and it's just a special thing. Those things help to prepare for sure, because you see the preparation that it takes in years prior to that, and also during the year, and then when you go into the tournament, also the preparation that takes place. So a lot of those things help to mold some of the things that were can help to put you in the spot to be a head coach later on. So, but nobody can be prepared to come behind Billy Hicks and be put in that. And I told them, I said, when I was offered that job, that I hope nobody expects me to be Billy. He was an extraordinary man that had a way of doing things that was uncommon to other people, and it just really taught me a lot about what it takes to be a head high school basketball coach in a prominent program that, of course, doesn't have the same backing, of course, with the split that we've had here now, which you guys have seen some of that as far as and experienced some of the split with West Jessamine and East Jessamine. And
Right.
when you have communities that have to add high schools and things like that, which I understand that, and it gives opportunities and things. But, the preparation that I was able to get during that time would be kind of unparalleled by a lot of the guys that have been assistants in certain spots, and the way that it was done was a way that I had a couple opportunities to go to different head coaching jobs before getting this one in Scott County, but the experience was so good, even as an assistant, that it didn't entice me to the point to say, hey, I want to leave this to go be a head guy, because the things that were going on here were just so good, and was on a level that it's hard to come by. So, it really prepared me very good to move into a head job for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, Billy was a phenomenal coach. Whenever I got to play against him in high school or even watch him coach, and not even that, but also, like you said, you played at the middle school, so kind of what was your reaction that day when you found out that you get to follow in his footsteps and also coach at your alma mater?
The very first instance was like, man, they're all going to expect me to do what Billy's doing, and I kind of told somebody, I said, the thing about it was when I was an assistant, I could coach and do the things that I enjoyed and loved doing, but at the end of the day, it was still all on Billy. When I got the head job, I realized that at the end of the day, the big difference in being an assistant and being the head coach is now if anything goes awry, it's my fault. So, or it lays upon me and not upon that head coach. But again, it's not about you can't put pressure on yourself in that way. I think any coach, if you're driven by the love of it and not driven by blame or this, that, or the other, because when it all boils down to it, I'm you coach basketball or you play basketball because you love it. You don't do it because somebody pushed you into it or because this, that, or the other. And I think that's the biggest thing that anybody that goes into coaching needs to realize. It's just, you do it because, heck, this is still a way for me to be able to compete in the game that I've loved since I was an infant thereabout. And now I can compete in it at the age of 50 years old and not get hurt. So, I'd love to still be playing, but I don't have the capabilities to still be doing that. So,
Yeah. And so, I mean, we've mentioned a few times. So after that, you went on to play at Asbury, which is an NIA, and college ball, no matter what level you play at, is extremely competitive. So, kind of, what was your experience like playing that level of ball, and what do you tell your kids now to expect to make it to the next level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I tell kids, even when you move from a middle school level to a freshman to a JV to a varsity in high school, I think the physicality is probably the biggest adjustment, especially if you're playing in 11th region. 11th region, physicality is, and then when you go to play college ball, the physicality is you can't almost be prepared for it without going through it in college. And I know, Turner, you probably experienced that in the last little bit.
Mm-hmm.
By moving from high school and going to college. Any college level is the physicality. And then if you go even to a Division I level or something like that, you realize that the physicality of it is the thing. I've always said that in the 11th region, one thing that's it's interesting, most of the officials that call in the 11th region, meaning Lexington area and such, most of them will be calling college games throughout the week and on Saturdays, but on Tuesdays and Fridays they're calling high school games. So especially in this area, those same officials that are calling those college games call the high school games. And I've just noticed, even when you go play in other regions, if you go to the mountains or you go out to Western Kentucky, the physicality is different because these guys that are calling these 11th region games are normally calling college games. A big part of them guys are doing that. And I just noticed that, the physicality here in the 11th region things is really tough. And you have to have kids that are ready to meet that physicality. I'll be honest with you, the last couple of years for us, the physicality has been the biggest thing. We haven't been all the way where we need to be till the end of the year because the physicality, we're trying to match that and understand that. And, I think once it came to just after probably around my sophomore year at Asbury, that physicality, I began to understand it and how to be able to use that and work through it and be able to go past that so that I can continue to play basketball. Sometimes that physicality gets to a point where it stops a kid. And they can't do what they do because because the physicality's messing them up. So, the physical part of the game, of course, the skill development and things like that is always important. But you can take a super skilled guy that doesn't match the physicality of the game they're in, and it won't work. So that's probably. So we try to expose them to the type of play that's going to help us be successful in our particular district and region. Of course, our district is, especially now, even that Sayre is Sayre beat Lexington Catholic this summer. Sayre's kind of got on the level now where they're even a tough one. So we're in a district with Sayre, Bryan Station, Henry Clay, and Frederick Douglass. So it's a super physical district, and if you can get, I've noticed this over the past few years, the preparation of that physical play within our district allows the guys in our district to have a good chance to have a shot at our region. And it's because of, it prepares them to be able to be exposed to that and be ready, more so ready at the end of when you're going for regional stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and right now I'm a student at Western Kentucky, and I study sport management. So I also work with WK Athletics, and I get to practice with the women's basketball team down there. And one of my assignments this year in school was, to research and come up with a coaching philosophy of my own. So kind of like, what is your coaching philosophy and the things you value as a coach and that you want to teach your athletes?
It's funny. Philosophy should be kind of an evolution, if you will, of how some things come about, things that you realize as you're going through that process. But I think my number one thing for a philosophy is, and this goes back to what Billy told me back in 2001, when he brought me on. He said, I feel that if you can develop every kid on your team individually to the maximum of their ability, you'll have the best team possible. It's not about putting plays in, this, that, and the other. Yes, you got to practice in the right way. But you've got to develop them individually to be the best player that they can be. And if you've got a bunch of kids that are developed to be the best basketball player they can be individually, you've got to put those things into place as far as organization goes. You've got to have some of that, of course, but the key has always been, because when it boils right down to it, a kid's got to be skilled enough to make that play. And when it comes down to the end of a game, sometimes it's not about running a play. It's about having the ball in the right kid's hands with some supporting cast around them, and then being skilled enough to get it done. So my biggest thing is skill development. We do ball handling every day. We do lots of shooting every day. Secondary and behind that would be our defense, and then thirdly would then be, offense and the organization of playmaking and things such as that. But it's more or less developing the kids' individual skill ability, and you know what? If you do it in that way, and you can make working at basketball fun, and it's not monotonous. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm too far along now. I'm going to stick with that one, and again, just try to make it fun and develop and be the best basketball player they can be.
Yeah, and I'll ask one more here before I turn it back over to you, Turner. But adversity is always something that's going to be a part of the sport, whether you're playing it or coaching it. So what kind of adversity did you experience, whether it was a player or even a coach now, and how did you learn from that?
Adversity for me as a player, in the past couple of years, adversity as a team for us because we hadn't had a lot of size the past couple of years. But for me, as a player, my adversity was my size. I was 5'9" with my shoes on, and if a basketball player, oh, you're 5'9", you probably should just play baseball. You can be short and play baseball. But I know when I got to Asbury, I got over there and I had a particular guy that's here in Scott County, and they went on to play at Francis Mary, and him and his brother, and they had worked with a guy that worked with their jumping ability, and they said when I came out of high school, I could jump and I could grab the rim. That was it. And he told me, he said, this older guy, I'm working with a trainer, he said, he told me, if you want to jump higher, the best thing you can do is not lift weights, not do these certain different things. He said, if you want to jump, the best thing you can do is jump. And do it as much as you can, work on your technique, do those things. So I got some plyometric things. I was in the Asbury dorm, and I really committed to it, and I did it 3 times a week, and I did these plyometrics, and I still do them with our kids today, and it's really cool because I have kids that are a shorter kid or something, he gets his first dunk because of it, and it really makes it kind of neat. And granted, dunking is not the main part of basketball, but it also, for me, it really helped me. I think the first year I did it, I put 6 inches on my vertical jump, and it was basically just taking a desk chair or something and jumping on that 100 times and try to do it without stopping. And at first I couldn't do it, and but then by about the second or third week, I could do that 100 times without stopping, no problem. I didn't use any weights, but he told me, he said, when you do it, try to do it and use your whole body so that it makes it more technique than it is even strength. And so I literally, in about 5 weeks, put 6 inches on. The next year, after the season, I started it again. I did it for 5 or 6 weeks, stopped it, gave a week off. I put 4 more inches on. And this is not an exaggeration. And those 10 inches of vertical jump in my last 2 to 3 years of college basketball, man, it just really helped me to be able to create a shot and be 5'9" and still be able to shoot over a defender. And of course, you had to put your time in and do your skill work and things, but to be able to do that, it really helped me. So as far as adversity for me as a player, that's the thing. When I got that, it really gave me an added asset to be able to score. And so yeah, really. And so I try to do that. Some of the kids buy into it. A lot of the bigger kids, we've had we've had like 3 or 4 different 7-footers that's came through here. 7-footers, it's a hard process. Not gonna lie, it's hard for them to do it. But for a kid that's 5'8", 5'9", and go to 6'2", 6'3", man, it can really give you an asset if you commit to it and give it 5 to 6 weeks and take a week off. And I've seen plenty of kids where it's really helped them and can give them something, to do something different that they haven't been able to do before. So as a player, but again, like I say, as a coach, when you don't have a lot of size and you're going against a lot of size, especially in one where we talked about, like with the physicality, then that can be definitely a piece of adversity that you have to deal with and figure out how to get around it.
Yeah. Coach, so one player that has gotten more spotlight these past couple years is Michael Moreno, and so as he started growing up, I mean, could you tell that he was special among different players?
Michael, when he came in as an eighth, I had him in class as an eighth grader, and I got him to come over. He started JV for me as an eighth grade kid. We were down playing in the beach ball classic, and I mean he was just stud. He just his footwork was good. He wasn't explosive. His footwork was so good. He was beyond his in the way he thought the game and things. You know, it was just really kind of beyond the other kids. And so he started JV for me. We started about midway through the year, kind of filtering him into the varsity a little bit. He was about 6'4", at that point 6'5". And I remember being at beach ball, playing in the beach ball classic. We played against a team out of Texas or somewhere. They had a kid going to Florida State, somebody else going somewhere else, about 6'8", 6'9", and coach got frustrated with somebody, and I was like, dude, I said, Michael will do more than that kid. And Michael went in the game. He puts him in. Michael had like 8 points and 6 rebounds in the 8th grade at 6'4" against a kid 6'9" going to Florida State. And it wasn't because he was jumping over him, but he just really thought the game, and it came to him, and his footwork was really good, and, you know, just those kinds of things. And by the end, we worked him like a guard, even though he wound up being, 6'6", 6'7", and we worked him like a guard, which was really a big advantage for him when he went to Eastern. Because, if he'd have been in a lot of high school programs with his size, he would have been strictly a big man. And but Michael, he knows the game. There were some times where he could even bring the ball down and run the one. But it was that individual improvement as a total basketball player, not just a post player, that really helped him. And he was a kid that really had a feel for it. Some kids you can see even at a young age, they just got a feel for it. They read it well, and they have great footwork. And Michael was one of those kids. Yeah.
So one of your first years was the 1920 season. So coming into the district tournament, you all had around like a 500 record.
Yeah.
What came in that process to even motivate you all to have such a run that you all did?
There was 3 memorable things that I've experienced as a coach. One, 2012, I got to assist Billy on McDonald's All-American East team, which was, I had no idea that they did that for high school kids. It was phenomenal. So I got to be, that was one thing but that was kind of also doesn't have the magnitude of playing in a tournament in the state of Kentucky in high school basketball. But that was a really, really stands out in my mind. The other thing is 2007 and that state championship team. But 2020 was one of the most memorable things for me as a coach. And the way everything played out, we finished the year previous in 2019, ranked in the top 10 in the nation. And we graduated 7 seniors. The next year we had the school split. 4 of the kids that had started JV for me were all districted to go to Great Crossing. And they all went. And so I was left with a junior kid that had came off the bench and one kid named Taryn Hamilton that was about 6'6" and came off the bench. So he's the only one that had any varsity experience that year. So it took us half the year to figure out, number one, the physicality, because none of them played varsity except Taryn. and our schedule did not go down any. That was for sure. And yeah, we took some lumps and things like that, but boy, they learned. And going into that district, we were sitting right at around 500. We had beat Douglas in a big game that was just before we went to district. We had to beat Bryan Station to get to the finals, and we actually had to hit a last-second shot to beat them in the first round of the district. Most people probably don't know that. And but the way these kids came together and the way they learned to guard, we had to guard a little bit different of a way. Taryn was a great rim protector, but he averaged double-double by the end of the season. And I've just never seen a team fuse together in such a short period of time. I think we won 9 of our last 11 games. And, wound up getting beat by Douglas in the championship of the district in a barn burner. Got beat by 2 or 3. And went on and won the first round of the region. Played Tate's Creek in the second round. They had a really good player. I can't recall his name right now. And wound up beating them by 20-something. Got in the finals of the region, so we're sitting there and had 12, the top, we figured it up one time. We had 1 kid out of the top 12 from the year previous. That's it. And so we're playing Lexington Catholic in the 2020 season there in the finals of the region. They're 33-1. They've got Ben Johnson, who eventually was Mr. Basketball the next year. And again, just never seen a team that has come together such as that in such a way. It was phenomenal to watch what they did, and wound up beating them in the finals of the region and winning the region. So that for me was probably as special of a time or of anything that I have been as far as the coach goes. To watch those kids and the way they came together at the end there was just truly something special that I'll never forget.
So me and Landon actually, experienced it too, because that's whenever I was at West Jessamine and Landon was a senior. What was going through your head as COVID happened and the state tournament just got canceled?
Man, I was blown away, man. I just couldn't believe, and I made the comment. I think one of the news stations that came and they talked to us that day about all that. They said, I said the only justification that I can give for that is sometimes bad things happen to good people. And I said, in all actuality, I think this is a good team. They're a good group of guys. They believed in one another. They came together. And I said, it's a bad circumstance that happened to a really good team. And, what was really sad, the most sad, because that was about my 11th time being able to go to the state tournament. And in those 11 times, that was the best draw I had ever seen us ever get. Both Louisvilles were in the other side with the 9th region. We were the first team to punch our ticket. So we won the region that night. And the next week on Monday, if we won, we were to play the 13th region. So we went down and watched, me and my assistant Chris Wilhite, we went down and watched the 13th region championship game. And when we watched it, we got in the car and was driving home, and then they were a good team. I think it was Knox Central played Harlan County. And said, Chris, I said, what do you think, man? I said, I watched him play. And Coach Wilhite said, if we don't win by 20, I'll be disappointed. And I said, no. I said, I agree. I agree. I said, so, you know, and that's the thing. I've experienced that as a coach, too, and going so many times that if you go down there and you get to the state tournament, kind of like West Jessamine when they had Polson, they got down there that one year and they won that first one. They won that second one. Well, I'm saying, if you go down there and you win one and you get some experience with success on that floor, that who knows? Who knows where you can go from there? So I was like, dude, if we can win that first one, we got a shot. Just looking at the bracket, he said, oh, we got a shot. I think Ashland, we would have had to play Ashland in the Final Four, but I just feel like we had some things and the way we had come together and the things we had overcome that, man, we had a good shot to go straight to the finals. Now, I don't know, who knows, whatever. But it was a really good draw. It was going to be a good scenario, and it was really sad. But I told those guys that you can't dwell on that now or 20 years down the road, because you made an opportunity happen that they can't take away from you. And some of the administration from Scott County, they were really nice. And we only hang a picture in our gym if you're a state finalist, if you win the state, or you're a runner-up. And they actually hung a picture for those guys, and we put a little thing on there and said the unforgettables, because nobody will forget what happened to these guys. They took a team, and we won, beat Catholic there in that regional final game. That day, or that week, they had been named the number one team in the state. They were 33-1. They were number one in the state. And at one point there, with about 40 seconds to go, we had them down 9. And it was just crazy. So, but again, just a bunch of guys that they all bought in, and they had all improved themselves individually. And we had about 7 or 8 guys that we had a good rotation. It was a special thing. I'll never forget it.
Speaking of draws, I'm pretty sure it was Michael's junior year, because I'm pretty sure Cooper Robb a year older than Michael.
He was.
Yeah. So that first round, you all drew Trinity, correct?
Yes.
And so I was actually at that game.
Incredible.
How was that experience?
Look, Cooper Robb's another kid. I had him in middle school class. I told my wife, I made the comment to my wife, I said, look, Cooper was a freshman. He started JV for me. We had a really rough year that year, 2014, 2015. We were had a losing record. It was right after Trent Gilbert. We graduated 6 seniors. And in 2014, we should have won the state tournament in 2014, got beat double overtime by Cocat. I don't know if you remember that game.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through that season, I told Billy, I said, look, I got Cooper Robb's on my JV team. He's a freshman. I said, dude, he does. You ain't got nobody on the varsity that does what he does. I told my wife, I said, he's a guy that plays in the future more than anybody I've seen. And Trish was like, my wife was like, you can't play in the future. I said, yes, you can. That's a big part of basketball. I said, not everybody can. But Cooper was one of those cats that could do that. He could play in the future. And he knew the pass was going to be thrown. Or, he knew what move to make before he had to make it. It was Cooper was a special piece to that 2018 team for sure. And but and he was one of those guys too which he showed that at EKU in his game winners and the last second shots. different things he experienced. That shot against Trinity, I'll never forget that either. That was special. That was really special.
Mm-hmm. Did it feel different in that moment, like with that tournament run, that there were some dudes, like, because there are a lot of guys that went pro that year.
Yeah,
So
I know.
did it feel like that in the moment, or did it just feel like another state tournament?
Well, I mean, no, I mean it didn't feel. No, because we had played against those guys all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we played the Trinities and the Ballards. And, we would see them before we got there. You know, which again in the preparation of, and I've tried some here, and and just like this year, are we probably suited to do that? No, but like we're supposed to go to Mayo this year and play. Of course, we're always those guys were prepared to play against those guys, because they've done it before. It didn't feel different. We knew they were long, they were athletic, they were skilled and things, but we had seen them before, so we knew them, and that helps. It just does. And even if you take a lump or two, I do think that can help you if you're trying to win the grand prize and not just worry about a record. So I think those things had mattered. Now, granted, we had some good players as well, but again, we didn't have 2 or 3 guys who's going to play on a pro roster. So
Mm-hmm.
that's crazy.
Yeah. All right, Landon, go back to you.
Yeah. So speaking of like tough moments, whether it be COVID or even after a tough loss, what's something that you always tell your team after a moment like that?
One thing is, you've in tough moments and in success. In tough moments, whether it be a loss or maybe close to a loss or whatever, I think you got to stop and say at the end of every game, one thing I do, I know it's just something that I've done. I kind of picked it up from Billy, but at the end of a game, it should be a time of reflection. And I think it's a time where I tell them I'm going to say a prayer. Whether that's the right thing to do or not, I think it's fine. But I say, I'm going to say a prayer. You don't have to. But I'm going to pray that the Lord shows me things from this game that's going to help me later on. If it's a game we won, I always say, let's pray that the Lord takes this success and that we're going to use this success for good things. We're not going to use it for being proud or for saying, boasting, but we're going to use it for good things. And but in a loss or a tough time, we need to pray that the Lord shows us the things that's going to make us better the next time we face it. And so I try to say it in that way. I don't put them in a place of prayer per se, but I'll let them know that's what I'm doing. And I think it's a way that you can do that within a public school and be a way that's safe, and it makes them feel safe. I say, but that in a time of adversity, I want to know the things that's going to help me to be successful next time, but I want the Lord to be the one that helps me to see that. So, and I think, again, with my basketball opportunities, I do feel that, yeah, I've worked hard, tried to put myself in a spot where I'm going to be able to still do basketball and different things, but I know that it's not me, that the Lord's the one that gave me the opportunities. So, and I think if I keep that perspective, then hopefully my teams will be able to see some of that perspective come out, and maybe that can help them in the game of basketball, but also in the game of life. That, we got to look at our successes, our failures, and find out where the Lord is the one that's going to be the one that overall prevails in both of those. And that's Coach Hicks is the one that taught me to do that. I think I always had that, but he's the one that taught me the way to voice that in a public school setting, so that it's not intrusive. And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But this is a great way to approach it. So, so that would be my call on that for sure.
Yeah. So, out of basketball, what is, I guess, the biggest lesson that you teach your players when it comes to outside of basketball wise?
Outside of basketball, one is that you need to be thankful for the opportunity of basketball. You were chosen to be on this team. There's other people that don't get to do what you do, and you need to be thankful for the opportunity. And over the course of a year, I'll say many times, you're going to be a freshman one time. You're going to be, of course, that don't apply to COVID, I guess, but you're going to be a freshman one time. You're going to be a sophomore one time. You got one senior year, and you need to make the most of it. I said the easiest. I said, if somebody told me it cost $10,000 to get one year of eligibility left in high school, I said, guys, I ain't got a lot of money, but that'd be the easiest $10,000 I ever spent. I would take it every single time. And I said, you need to be thankful for the opportunity that's before you. That's my biggest thing. And you need to take advantage of it. Don't let it pass you by. I try to voice that to those guys as much as possible.
Yeah, and I'll finish up my questions here at this. I guess just growing up, who was a big influence on your life and to where you are now as a coach? I probably have to say that the trainings and not even as much as a coach, but because I feel like even being a coach, I still got to be a man, and I need to show these guys how to be a man. And my dad's probably one of the, I've always said that if I could be probably half the man that my dad is, then I'll be in good shape. If I can just be half. He's a pastor that has showed a really good way to live and be a man. But I'll tell you what, he also loved basketball. He played in high school, but he also he never missed a game of mine, and he just loved the game, but he also, in the way that he loved the game, he also loved the Lord. He loved my mama, and he loved me and my brother. So I say is that would probably be that's some of the things you got to be able to do as a teammate. You got to love your teammates. You got to love the game, and in my opinion, you're gonna be better off if you love the Lord too. So that's the thing. It's that would probably be my greatest influence on probably anything I did as far as the world that I looked up to. So, and sometimes as a kid, you don't realize you look up to them like that until you get older. You realize, man, I love Michael Jordan as a basketball player. My hero probably was my dad. So, Turner, I'll turn it over to you to finish us out.
All right. So these are kind of like more quick hitter questions. So the first one, I mean, you've talked about Jordan a lot, but what separates Jordan from LeBron James?
Mm, man, you hear that stuff all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
One thing, I mean, you got to remember, where Jordan was, dude, he was like Defensive Player of the Year like 3 times. I know LeBron also has had some defensive accolades and things, but there was a couple times, a couple of those years, I think he led the league in scoring and he was defensive. And then, of course, both of them have great championships. They are kind of a different kind of a player to a certain degree. I feel like LeBron has a little more of a bulldog in him, where Jordan had a little more of the finesse part, And maybe it's not a matter of who's the greatest, but it's a matter of who you like more, because they're both great players. And I would hate to put my name up behind saying one was greater than the other. I like the way Michael Jordan did it and the way he played it, and I enjoyed watching him more than LeBron. But no, don't make no qualms about it. LeBron is a great player for sure. But that would be my biggest thing. I see LeBron being able to bulldog people a little more with his strength and his physical and whatever. But Jordan just had a little more of the finesse. And in my eyes, that was more fun to watch. So,
What changes would you like to see to any level of basketball?
I know the biggest thing that right now they're all talking about this shot clock coming into high school. And those things, I don't know what I think about that exactly. If they put it in, I'm fine with it. If they leave it out, I'm fine with it. I don't know that. I do see why that they have not put it in, because of the expense that it would be to have those shot clocks installed on all the different levels, and somebody being able to man that shot clock. And, it's just more equipment, more manpower, those kinds of things from a high school level. So, as far as anything else being put in, I don't know. I mean, you always hear it saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's broke, so I don't know why we worry about fixing it too much as far as the high school level goes. But there is parts of me at times that say, because you get the certain referees that call a game, and it becomes just like what I told you before about the physicality of it. There's been some games we played where it's been like a wrestling match more than it is a basketball game. They're so physical. If you don't match it, you ain't got a prayer. And it's solely based upon who's calling the game. But there's no way to get a uniform thing on that across the state. I just don't think you can. So it's just, you got to prepare those guys to get it where they can match it no matter who's calling. And you got to be ready to answer it. If they're going to call it this way, you got to answer it that way.
So with shooting becoming a lot more like popular, like in the modern era of basketball, the traditional big man is kind of like started to just dissolve. I mean, do you think that there's still use for the traditional big man?
Yeah, I think there's use for one if you got one. Right now, I ain't hardly got one. But that's why I say, no, you're exactly right. But even like Michael Moreno, he could move out on the wing, like what you're talking about earlier. Heck, he could bring the ball down the floor. And there was a couple of things that we would do where we started him on the wing. Give it to him. Give it back. Then he drops down in there, plays that traditional big man. So this guy's had to guard him as a wing. Now he has to go down as a traditional big man. And if you've got a traditional big man that's skilled in that way and can score in that way, then yeah, I mean, I think you use them. Oscar. You say, well, yeah, he improved as going out on the floor and making the jumps on stuff. Oscar Seaway's a traditional big man, and he needs to be used in that way, because that's where he was the best, But being able to, it's kind of like being a basketball player that plays football or something, or a football player that plays basketball. That's okay. But if that's what they're good at, this is what their strength is, you need to use them in that way. And you're going to have some teams have guys that are good traditional big man, good footwork and different things. That team with Trent Gilbert we had in 2014, we had one old boy that moved in that year. He come from North Carolina. His name was Raekwon Long. He was a sophomore, 7'1", had a size 20 shoe. No joke. So, but we had a kid that was about 6'3", 6'4", named Tony Martini. He was probably a better traditional big man than Raekwon. So when we had to go to the post to punch it in there to score, we threw it to Tony. So I don't think it's lost. I don't think you can forget it. A lot of these Lexington teams have forgotten. And they play that 5-out offense, dribble drive, and everybody comes out and does whatever else. If you've got somebody that's good at being a traditional big man, then you need to use them. But if you don't, then you probably need to be 5-out. So it's I don't think it's to be gone or forgotten. But I do see where it has moved out. Guys have gotten out on the floor a little more and different things such as that. But, I mean, here again, when you can pound that thing down inside and the guy turn around and score with it, I mean, you got to use a traditional big man if you got one. And it don't mean he's got to be 7 foot. He can be 6'3" with good footwork.
Mm-hmm.
Just like a lot of these teams, you go down in the mountains and play, they have a 6'3" big man. You put a 6'8" on him, he's so darn physical, he turns around, elbows somebody in the Adam's apple and lays it in every time, because he just knows how to do it. Mm-hmm.
So, with more options, like with guys coming out of high school, like with the G League Ignite, for example, and the Overtime League and stuff, what do you think is better for these like 5-star athletes, the college scene or these professional routes?
I think college scene's good, man, to go and get you a taste of that things. But then again, I'm not opposed to if a kid is ready to go into the NBA and make a thing, just like when Kobe did it, LeBron did it. They just went straight in there. I mean, I'm not opposed to that. But I think college is good. If a guy's not ready for that, I don't think kids need to come right out of high school and just be like straight to the NBA. I think there are exceptions. But I like the 1-year rule as a minimum. I like it. But, I mean, I do like the G League thing, just like minor league baseball. It gives you a chance to get in there and see what you can do, see what you can prove. And I know all that stuff. We've got a young man that played for us who graduated in 2012. He still comes and works out with us quite regular. He played for 6 years, 5 years in Germany. He has been picked up a couple of times in some of those smaller leagues. He's never made a G League experience, but he's in this one, the one now, the other one, not the G League, but there's what's the other one? I forget. His name is Jelon Gwynn. He graduated in 2012. Wound up going to Cincinnati. Played there under Mitch Cronin, and he still, like I say, comes back around. I had him help with my camps and stuff. Just a really, really good kid. Works his tail off, you know. And it's all about a break. This kid, if he'd have got a break somewhere, he could make it because he shoots it. He's 6'2", 6'3" guard, super athletic, great build, fast, jumps, handles it, got plenty of experience, started at Cincinnati for 2 or 3 years. You know, he's got all that. You know, I can remember playing on that Coyotes team. And what we did, when I played on that Coyotes team, there was a guy that came in named John Woods. He was like Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, whatever. So he came in mid-season. He had just been let go from the Mavericks. Okay, and I watched him, man, and like I said, I got to play on the same team with him. You know? And there was one time we were playing some team out of Indianapolis, and they had like a Indiana Mr. Basketball on there, blah, blah, blah. Dude, he had like 14 unanswered points. He was like 6'3", super strong, physical, and I was like, dude, if that guy can't play in the NBA on some no-name team or whatever, I said, how in the world? It's all about the break, you know. You get a little break or you get something, you know, it's like acting or singing or whatever. Some people get a little luckier than others, I guess, you know. But just watching that guy, I was like, man, that's an NBA player. I'm watching him. I mean, how can he not play in the NBA? And so, you know, I'm not opposed to that. I think it would have to be kind of extraordinary. I wouldn't want every kid to come out of high school and try to go to, you know, play in the NBA. But I think that's why you got a lot of kids get drafted out of high school for baseball, and they don't go straight to the MLB. You know, they go in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
And it may take a couple years before they get up there. They got to prove themselves down there. I don't know. I've always wondered that why they never had a better minor league organization for the NBA. You know, a little different. So.
With I mean, this is your specialty with high school sports. I've been seeing stuff about like different players like enrolling as a non-resident in different like schools. What do you think about all that?
I don't know, man. I mean, we've got the one county next to us. I don't even know if I should say their name. They have always done that. They've always had the opportunity of being a non-resident, and it's been for a while. They've had that as something that you could pay a tuition and go to this particular. Well, I'll just say it because I mean it's Woodford County. You can go to Woodford County and pay tuition. It's been like that since like 20. I know since 2013 because I had a kid that left after his sophomore year and went over there and played his last 2 years. And he still lived in Scott County and went over there because he realized it was going to be. We had Trent Gilbert and the team. He realized, and he just wanted to go experience high school basketball. But I mean, I think it opens a kind of a raw door, man. I mean, you know, Scott County will not allow you to do that. I don't know that it would be a good thing or not. And if they do that, then there probably shouldn't be an opportunity to transfer. And there may not be. But even on a move. But I just think, over the years, and I'll be honest with you, people said, oh, Billy Hicks, and they recruited this kid, and they did that, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. Because I was there. I mean, nobody went and got those kids. They saw that we were winning. They saw that it was an opportunity to play in the state championship game. They saw that, we have a great gym and facility. They knew that we have the gym open probably more than most teams in the high school arenas. And they just saw it as a chance to go play basketball. Nobody asked them to come. Nobody said, you should come here. They came and said, we're coming. Dakota Ute transferred down here after his sophomore year. Nobody went after him. Nobody. He just did it. And then when he did it, 2 others came with him. But his family totally moved into Scott County. Contrary to what everybody says, nobody worked for Toyota. Okay. And they just wanted to come and try to be a part of a program that had been winning. And I promise you that, guys. And I tell people that, oh, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, and this, that. I said, guys, if we could get people a job at Toyota, I'd have went to work out there. Lord, they make 6 figures for too long out there. So that's what I say. It's not something that they're like, Toyota gets them a job and blah, blah, blah. None of those kids transferred in and had a job at Toyota. And I promise you guys, I know it for a fact. It's just a matter of what we got back to one of the very first questions we talked about. Said, kids won't play in the state tournament. And they had seen Scott County had win. And those guys just was like, and they knew Coach Hicks was a great coach. And they wanted the opportunity to be the best basketball player they could and have a chance to play in the state tournament. So their family's uprooted and moved right in here with us. So, it's, I think that's different than saying, I'm going to go play at this county, but not be a resident. I think that's totally different.
Yeah. So the last part of the podcast is all yours. I mean, do you have anything on your mind or you want to say to the audience?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to come on and think a lot of Asbury and the opportunity that it gave me there to play basketball and the things that I think it led me into. And basketball's a great game, and it is. It's definitely one of my favorite earthly things that I've been able to be exposed to. So I've been blessed to be a part of some neat things, and anxious to hopefully be a part of some stuff for a few more. So.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on for sure. I mean, it was definitely a really good episode, just with all the great stories. So, yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
No problem. I was honored you asked me, and I'd do anything to help you out, man.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, I'll let you go.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
See you.
All right, bye.